Good morning. Good morning. We are here another Tuesday morning to join about our coffee with Mary May, as well as to enjoy in our leadership nuggets that we have planned for you today. So I want to welcome you on IG, welcome you on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube for this conversation because they're very important, as well as you should strive to understand your leadership capacity in every way possible. But what I always say every Tuesday morning when we join each other, before you make any major decisions in your day, make sure you have a cup of coffee or tea before you get into chatting and making those life decisions. I'm going to take a sip. And thank you guys for joining me again on a Tuesday morning, whether you were here live or on the replays. Much appreciated. And so my name is Mary May, and I help women in corporate America go from being passed over to well paid and promoted, and to be able to position themselves to shift the narratives so that with clarity, conviction, and purpose, they are able to understand what is needed for them to next level their career, as well as what is the barriers that they may not be clear about in regards to being able to moving forward. So I want to let you know that I do appreciate engagement. It is welcome. So again, thank you for being here live and on the replay. Feel free to share this information with anyone who you think may benefit from learning about, what we're going to talk about today and any day, about being positioned for our greatness and our giant self and being that effective leader. You can do that by going to my website at Work with Mary May. I have a free gift there for you, as well as, being positioned and prepared. So in all conversations, we usually are taking a personal inventory and having some personal reflection that is going to cause some accountability, but you have to be open to the opportunity so that you can naturally position yourself for what's up next. So our focus conversation for today is being promoted or passed over. Do you know the rules of engagement? A lot of times we may think we know the rules of engagement, but there are things that we tend to miss in the process, overthink in the process, or just not clearly have the full script. And so we're going to talk about that today. And you'll hear me probably mention a tool or a resource that I have created that has helped many individuals and women like you who are working and striving to be promoted, to be well paid, and to be able to create that life and time rich experience that you would like to have in your life within your career, as well as, the things that you experience outside of it. And to get balance with that, I have a tool called the GPS, where the GPS is where you're able to identify with clarity those goals that you are expecting. You're able to position and plan how it is that you will lead forward, as well as create using both the positioning and the planning and the goals that you've established with clarity to be able to create that strategy personalized for you on a side-by-side, step-by-step process. So no one likes to be passed over for a promotion. I'm sure I could get some high fives and anything like that, because I remember when it was a moment that I was being passed over for, promotions. So, and utilizing the GPS strategy has positioned me to be able to support you as a leadership strategist so that you can understand that effective change. Because as a leadership strategist, I can help you peel back those layers. I can help you recognize what those blind spots are, and again, position you for the greatness. So before we go all the way in to what it is that we have to share with you this morning, is that I have a quote. And the quote that I have is that before you do anything else, you should celebrate yourself, because no one knows what it takes to be you. on a day-to-day basis, you should always acknowledge and take that opportunity to just celebrate you, because the capacity on how you show up, no one knows what the journey was before you got here. And you'll often, if you follow me and stay connected, the conversation that I usually tie this into, the quote was just a perfect wedding match, was the daily divorce of self. So generally, in that daily divorce of self, we have so many conversations, so many conflicts, so many joys that we experience before we get in contact with anyone. And what I would like to remind you is that celebrate yourself first and foremost throughout the day, in the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day, because no one knows what it takes to be you. Okay, so let's jump into these nuts and bolts of what it is that we got going on this morning. And thank you so much for the hearts and the love. So management has asked you to take on this special project or take on this position. And once you do this position, it's going to have you in a better place for an upcoming promotion or an upcoming leveling up of your career. And so we tend to say promotion, that's what we heard. We tend to hear well paid or payment increase. That's what we heard. And so we begin to roll up the sleeves early and begin to activate what we understand is necessary so that we can show up in doing this other position or these additional tasks. We're not necessarily looking at the time invested or the time that it will cost, but we're rolling up our sleeves because we heard promotion and positioning. And the thing about that is that we don't ask for the rules of engagement. We don't ask for like clarity in regards to what it is that we may need to know that we don't know about what that role actually entails. And the difference between, it's a communication difference between what we heard, what was said, and our perception and versus our reality. Because what compromises the perception versus the reality is that we have been looking at our life finances, our life goals. We want to travel, we want to do different things in the community or whatever for ourselves, for our family, for others. And our bank ledger doesn't match that opportunity to being able to do that. Our time doesn't match being able to do that. But we heard promotion and we automatically assume and stand in the gap and understanding that from what we understand, we could probably get this promotion that we want. But the thing about it is that these communication barriers and blind spots come with some level of bias or unclear standards or inconsistencies in the policy that we don't think to ask that so that we can understand what the new expectation is for us. Good morning. What the new expectation is for us, and or what it's going to look like on that other side. But we don't think of it as a barrier or a blind spot because they asked me to do this, right? So if they ask me to do it, they must see the quality of my skill set. They must see that I am prepared to level up my career. They already see me. However, when it comes down to it, you still go unseen and passed over. And so let's look at what are some of those the communication barriers, but then also what are the rules of engagement? What are the things that you are not asking? Because again, you heard promotion, which translated into well paid because there'll be a payment increase. And you began to run the gamut and understand that, okay, if I'm getting a payment increase, that means my hours could possibly be more flexible. I can possibly have time-rich experiences where some flexibility, like if you have children at home or family, or like other things that you would like to do outside of your role, as well as you're thinking that you know what it is that is going to take to do this special project, and know unapologetically with your authentic strength, your authentic self, what it is that you're doing and your skill set being a perfect match for what they're looking for in a special project. But we don't usually ask those questions. we usually roll up the sleeves and dive in with what we do know, and we don't ask questions. If we think about questions, then we question and self-doubt. Well, if I ask this question, will they still consider and think that I'm qualified or that I could do the deliverables? And then you go into this opportunity of self-doubt that I could also categorize in that daily divorce of self framework, where you begin to move forward and you jump in all deep, because then you look at the facts of what it is that you do know. So the facts that you tend to know in the rules of engagement is, you know how long you've been on that job. You know what qualifications and skill sets that you have in connecting to the job. You know what sacrifices or things that you've made amenable and accessible to others who also are on the job, but you feel that what you have done has been a stronger and significant contribution for this special assignment in a much different way that positions you to be in the best place, as well as you don't see the limits that other people are seeing. Like, you don't know what your energy level is. You don't know how you're communicating. You don't know what your presentation is. And it's all because we have not taken that moment to really, really sit with ourselves and go beyond the dangling carrot that was before us, which is, you're going to get a promotion and it's going to hopefully be well paid, and it's going to hopefully position you to have time-rich experiences that are going to have you living in the absence of being handcuffed and limited to certain situations. So because you don't ask those questions, the person on the other side of the table is looking at the fact that you didn't ask those questions. They are accepting the project as you present it, but the expectations were never clear. So because the expectations were never clear, you're already at a disadvantage of being set up to not be positioned for the job, but they will accept the task of what you did because it helps them move the needle for the overall project of what they want to get done. However, you're knee deep with an expectation that is possibly going to turn into being disappointment. And once you get into the space of the disappointment, second guessing yourself and saying that things are unfair, your productivity and your skill set becomes decreased, or it looks a little bit different than what it was that you had intentions on delivering, because we misunderstanding what is the policy connected to someone in my position trying to level up to this next position. We miss the procedure. Does the management team, does the supervisor, whatever, what is their procedure for considering leveling up someone, or someone, receiving a promotion such as what you're striving for? And are they going to be fair and like consider all of the different things, or are they just going to make a promise to you that this promise is supposed to hold the glue for you to continue to believe that your name is being mentioned in the rooms that you want to be mentioned in, and that it's coming with clarity, that you understand how it is that you can lead forward with your level of ambition and higher. We always talk about that. Always being in a space where you're at with people, with spaces, understanding from leadership standpoint that you're at your ambition level or higher. Because if you speak with the other individuals who are also striving to have this promotion just as you are, you might not understand the fair rules and policies and expectations that are necessarily needed and will be warranted for best practices. But then also the management team may not consider that they haven't explained it to you as well. And so when you think about the rules of engagement, are you being clear on learning everything about that job beyond the dangling carrot and the incentive of what you'll get on the other side? Because even when you think about what you'll get on the other side of being promoted, having this different position and having the time-rich experiences where you can live the life that you want to live and lead on your own terms, you begin to question things that may or may not be relevant. So know what those rules of engagement is, and so you can make sure that your skill set matches. Because one of the things that we can often begin to doubt ourselves is that we look at, okay, well, if I don't get this promotion, then do I need to get another certificate? Do I need to get another degree? Do I need to go and do something extra? 9.99 times out of 10, you already have the skill set. The things that's missing is, where did someone in your life make a promise to you and they kept it? Where did someone make a promise to you and they defaulted on it? What is this promise from this individual in your workplace triggering for you that you don't know is a barrier in your everyday conversation, and a barrier in your everyday conversation that you typically work under a premise or a promise that what you have been told is the necessary tools are the only tools that you need for being well promoted and well paid. So when you ask those real talk questions and those real talk those thoughts, then you begin to understand that some people function with being inconsistently consistent. But that inconsistency tends to unravel you as the person who's striving to do well, to do better, to uplevel your career, to see a different life for yourself. So inconsistently inconsistent should be the trigger. The promise should be the trigger to say, I need to peel back and I need to ask additional questions. So then, and also acknowledging that the skills that you have are appropriate for leveling up, but what are those other things around it, around what it is you need to level up, that's going to help you gauge yourself in a different way, or help you to level set and position yourself in a different way? How can you be consistent on your deliverables and how you communicate? Because your interrogation to learn what you don't know helps you lead from the front with your unique footprint. Let me say that again. What you ask, what you interrogate, what you learn, and what you ask for that more information gives you a gatekeeper, gives you a game-changing moment that you acknowledge that your skills are appropriate. You acknowledge that you are here at the table. You've been invited to a seat at the table for promotion. But now you have to reassemble what that opportunity is so that you can lead from the front and not from behind, where you have to pull the curtain back, because you have all of the solutions that are necessary. However, they're not clear to you because they may not also be clear to the person who is assessing you for this promotion. And until you interrogate and kind of push that envelope and pull the curtain back with conviction that you know what you know, that you know, you may have some other challenges that, kind of go with how it is that you move forward. So when you reset with your clear goals and your clear intentions, there's no way that your authenticity and your gifts that you have to offer to the position will not be seen or will not be heard, and you won't function with limiting strategies or belief systems that's not going to be able to unlock this opportunity that you're looking for, as well as prepare for the unknowns that you don't know that's going to exist when you get on the other side of your skill set and the other side of securing this opportunity. Because remember, when you reset the table, you are showing up authentically. You are showing up with conviction that you know what you know. Your skills are clear. You have been a leader in other places. You're not allowing the promise that may trigger you to something from promises made before. You're not being triggered by your perception being altered and different than what someone else has told you. Your unique footprint has its own voice. And the challenge is that sometimes we are not clear on how we can allow that natural voice that we have to just kind of speak in authority, and understanding that sometimes what we have as that natural gift of leading from the front may not be recognized because it may be more than what someone can actually handle, or what we believe is being communicated is totally clear. And that's not always the case. Sometimes people need additional information in order to have the clarity that's needed to match the puzzle pieces of your skill set and what their goals and their outcomes are to be a perfect match. And that takes having a rolling up the sleeve conversation in a different way. Instead of just jumping into what you believe is going to help you, level up and get positioned for that next career, ask those difficult questions. Even if you feel like it's not going to benefit you, still ask, because you don't know. You may be the only person that has recognized that every conversation that you have is an interview. And because every conversation that you have, be it direct to the project or indirect, is you reassembling and resetting the table to show how it is that you're able to live at your ambition level and higher, and being able to strategize how it is that you are definitely in position to have this promotion, and what the promotion is going to yield on the other side. So in recognizing like what it yields on the other side, you have to realize that although sometimes you may not be invited to the table is always available. Like it's always there in position for you. It's just how do you look at um your value, your worth, your ability, your capacity. And sometimes we get distracted around what our capacity is. And so when it comes to being promoted and well paid, we begin to compare ourselves apples to oranges. And there's no way that either of those conversations should be the same. But when you recognize, and not necessarily to make it stressful and that every conversation is an interview, but just realize that as a woman in leadership, as a woman with your unique footprint, as a woman in this world that we live in, there are certain things that makes the playground and the rules of engagement for leveling up look a lot different for us than it does for other individuals. I remember being in rooms where being the only melanated woman or being the only woman and trying to help understand how we can move the project from point A to point, say, D, not even going all the way to Z. And the way that my footprint saw the transition and transformation was unique. So it took time for people to kind of digest that. It's not to say that we always say no is a full and complete sentence, and that's accurate. However, a no in the moment is not a no forever. And even if the no is forever at this particular establishment, is not a no forever in your career. So you being able to position yourself to understand what your natural footprint, what your natural gift is, that you begin to learn if in fact where you are is where you're also supposed to be leveling up at. And those two things may not be congruent with where your gift and your footprint is supposed to be. So it's like learning how to kind of navigate how you have to reassemble the table. And sometimes you have to break the table all the way down before choosing to roll up your sleeves and accept the assignment that they have given you, and realize that, okay, you can go knee deep in, but there are some things I need to know. Make sure that before you leave that table of negotiation, that when they're offering it to you and before you say yes, or even after you say yes, ask them, what is the room for questions? What is the rooms for me getting clarity on things? Because I may end up entering into a space that I want to make sure that I'm delivering it the way that you find and the way that you in the program would benefit. Because my unique idea is beneficial, but I need to know what is it that your expectations are. And when you do that, the accountability for the management team, for the leadership team, goes through a lot differently, because now they have to be accountable to being clear and transparent in regards to what it is that how they set the table and how it is that they can guide you in positioning, because it's possible that the conversation that they had with you and taking on this special project, if you don't ask those additional questions, and additional questions can be different based on the career and the field that you're in, but if you don't ask those additional questions, it's possible that they were never supposed to have that conversation with you to begin with. And you have overextended yourself, done what you needed to do to get into this place. However, being at that place is not always a bad thing. It does create that human reaction of disappointment and feeling like you wasted time. However, the reality is not only did you learn more about the company that you're working for and striving to level up, you learned something about you. You learned about where your strengths are, where your challenges, and how your perception versus reality sometimes redirects your path and GPSs you into a different, land zone or location than what it was that you were looking for, or it keeps you at the same standstill because you didn't have all of the coordinates, you didn't have all of the little details that was missing from not having the open-ended opportunity to ask the questions, so that you don't feel that you're making your capacity less than when you need to ask more questions. And so always be willing to reset the table, always be willing to understand the disappointment is going to happen, but we grow from what it is that disappoints us, because that's the emotion that lets us know that we're on the right track, we're in the right direction. There are times that in my journey in learning and understanding this possibilities of being able to grow, that I would either go home crying in my car. For lunch break, I would go and be like, okay, well, maybe I'm second guessing, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. And it absolutely was where I was supposed to be. But realize that when you are leveling up, you are also stretching a new muscle that you have never used before, a new capacity that has probably not been welcomed before. And because you're deciding to push through, you're deciding to choose you, and to ensure that before you do anything, that you're celebrating what your skills are, what you bring to the conversation, and that it has value. So, are you ready to be promoted and well paid, and figure out what it is that your next steps are that you would need or value from, and being able to position yourself in the right place? Again, there are some things in life that has kind of dictated, or kind of shared or given us a glimpse of light, where we think or second guess or question our ability, especially when things are not clear from whoever our managers are, whoever within our family, whoever within our community. So all of those things have influence in how you position yourself to not be passed over, to not be overlooked, to not have your skill set being able to level up into that next part of your career, to the positioning of you being promoted and well paid. So I have a free case study for you, that if you were to go to workwithmarymay.com, you will hear more about the work that I've done that has helped many other women like yourself, as well as give you some ideas of the strategy, and then you could determine what is the next best step for you to do. So, in understanding what the next best step could be, could simply be having that breakthrough conversation or that strategy setting conversation. And you could determine from there, we could determine from there what are the next steps, and if you are a good match for working with myself and a program that I have created as a leadership strategist and my team, or if you already have what it takes that can help you do this on your own. But whichever way you decide, I do want to thank you for joining me for another Tuesday morning cup of coffee or tea with the Leadership Nuggets, and joining me in the conversation. So again, we are here every Tuesday morning, and 7:30. I try to go 7:30 to 8 to catch you in your commute or in your last minute steps before how it is that you start your day. And if you're catching me on a replay, if you share some love, I'll definitely come back and share some love with you, and thank you for that. So I look forward to serving you guys on whatever level, gals, on whatever level it is. And I just want you to understand that in this GPS framework, whatever it is that you decide, realize that it's not going to only give you the ability to identify your goals, it's going to give you the ability to identify the plan and have a way and a strategy on how it is that you will identify moving forward. So thanks again for another Tuesday. And thank you so much for joining and your engagement. And I look forward to serving you guys on the other side. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Take care.